Good evening, and welcome to the April 23rd, 2009 meeting of the Radnor Township Environmental Advisory Council. Agendas are on the edge of the table there, so you can feel free to pick one up if you haven't gotten one yet. We are going to start, as usual, with a couple of administrative things, and then we have some special presentations tonight. We want to go through review and approval of minutes and some announcements and updates. And then we are going to have a special presentation tonight on waste and recycling in Radnor Township and on ways to reduce the amount of waste that we all generate. So let me start with the review and approval of minutes. The minutes of the previous EAC meeting of March 26th were distributed. Does anyone have any corrections or changes to those minutes? No. How about a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Minutes are approved. Thank you. We also I have a few announcements, and then I will ask for others to offer up announcements as well, and we have a guest here to make one announcement. So let me just run through some of these. Again, we want to bring your attention to the next yard waste drop-off for Radnor residents at Skunk Hollow. That'll occur on Friday, May 15th from 8 to 3, and you can bring your leaves, plant material, grass clippings, small tree limbs. Please check the Radnor website for information about that, because there are requirements on how you package and bundle these materials to bring them for drop-off. There is going to be a household hazardous waste collection event as well on Saturday, April 25th from 9 to 3 p.m. And this one is going to be held at the Emergency Services Training Center in Darby from 9 to 3. And at this particular event, they will be collecting computer scanners, printers, portable TVs, and fax machines. Again, I encourage you to please look at the Radnor Township website for additional information on what they're going to take and what they're not going to take, but it's a nice opportunity to recycle some of those or bring some of your hazardous waste for those things that you're finding in your garage when you're cleaning out in your closets and things. Next up, I wanted to announce a sustainability series. The next program is going to be on alternative energy, and we've mentioned this at our last few meetings, although we were a little uncertain about the date, but the date has now been fixed and the speakers have been confirmed. So this will occur on Monday, May 18th at 7 p.m. It's the second program of the sustainability series. The topics that will be covered will include wind energy, solar, other types of energy like geothermal, and then energy efficiency as well. And we have a nice lineup of speakers for that. So we really do encourage you to come out and attend that. And I also wanted to note that at our May 28th EAC meeting, we are going to have a presentation on rain barrels by Dan Malloy. Sloan, thank you for arranging that. And also Brian McCarthy is going to make a presentation on stormwater issues as well.
And Brenda, I might add that we hope that John Nagel will come back and give us an update on the rain barrel.
Well, that's
project.
actually a good segue to John Nagel. John Nagel is here now. He's going to make an announcement about a program coming up, a rain barrel program that the Radnor Conservancy is hosting. John?
How are you all tonight? Wanted to stop by and mention I've been speaking with Sloan about your rain barrel efforts, and we have a natural dovetail. As you know, we formed a group called the Skunk Hollow Community Farm, and it's a joint program between the Friends of the Willows Cottage, the Radnor Conservancy, and Greener Partners. And part of what we're doing is an eco center, which is going to be in the garage area of the cottage. So our first project we picked up on was for folks to be able to make their own rain barrel. And we've gone to a vineyard up in Bucks County and procured quite a few rain barrels. They're very heavy oak. And we will we'll show folks how to convert them into rain barrels, and there'll be 10 or 12 of them, Mark. Mark Janizek's here with me also from the group. And those will be, it's on May 27th, and the cost for attending and getting one of the rain barrels is $200. That's about $100 less than you'll see these in any of the catalogs or online. We also, anyone who just wants to come to see how it's done, they're welcome also. And then that's the night before your meeting, so then we'll come back and report to you how it went, and hopefully we're
Great.
going to be able to get Dan to come to our meeting too.
Excellent.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, I guess the cameras aren't working, so.
I guess not.
I went to all the trouble.
You're right.
putting these wires on.
Here, maybe does it help if I hold it up here?
No,
Perhaps.
no,
Okay.
Trust me. The other thing I wanted to, just a reminder on, and I was hoping Heather was here because she's on the committee for us, is the Hoedown that we're sponsoring is a fundraiser, and it's on Sunday, May 17th from 3 to 7. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have hay rides, one of those bucking broncs. We're going to have a country group called the Wissahickon Chicken Shack. Hey, you know? And also we will have tours that'll show everyone the CSA, the farm, and the cottage. So, and I guess we're having a country store, which is, it's a kind of a reverse store, which there's a wish list of things we need to make this effort move forward. So folks will have the opportunity to basically buy those things for us, and that'll be symbolized probably by a box or a picture that they can sign up for. So again, it's a fundraiser. It's $25 per adult, $10 for children under 12. There's going to be plenty of food. We have, is Paradox, what's the other vineyard? Paradox Vineyards will be there providing wine, and you can sample it. It'll be catered. Secret ingredient, who else? Can't remember. Anyway, it's going to be a blast. So hopefully you'll all be able to attend. And at least one of your panel got a share. And
Congratulations.
so, we're really looking forward to it. And another point I don't know that's come out enough about the CSA is one of the shares is going to be going for charitable uses.
Oh, fabulous.
So we haven't advertised that. We're not riding on that. It's just one of the things we believe in as a group.
Great.
So.
Great.
John,
There's Heather.
there she is. Yeah, I wanted to thank you for reaching out to us and telling us about these very exciting events, and I think it's great if we can work together with you on several of these events. So please let us know if there's anything I or any of us can do to make these as successful as possible.
Well, we believe we have a natural fit with the EAC, much like the Conservancy. We've always worked with the EAC. We're going to do a composting workshop is one of the other ideas. And 100 years ago, Dave and Kathy Bright from the EAC did a really good film on composting. They were really the spearhead for the leaf mold that you can get in all the parks these days. So what else are you talking about? Beehives. We're going to have people talking about, that'll be on during the hoedown.
Well, be sure to send us updates on any events that you're having, and we'd be
And
happy to announce them.
All this stuff can be found on the Radnor Conservancy website, which is radnorconservancy, all one word, .org. And you can even get your tickets right there for the hoedown.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. I do just want to second that as far as the overlap of the EAC and with the Education Center that's going to be down at the cottage. In fact, I think it might fold in with the rain garden that we're kind of struggling with. There's just a lot of opportunity, I think, to kind of pool resources.
Absolutely.
And you can also buy tickets at the Out There store if you don't like doing it online.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Ready to go with another announcement?
It's just one more shot at, this is on Saturday will be the 25th Darby Creek Valley Association watershed-wide cleanup, and the Radnor location will be where the Blue Route crosses Bryn Mawr Avenue. We go back to a stretch of Ithan Creek that tends to collect a lot of flotsam and jetsam. So I'll meet any participants, including anybody from the EAC, at 9 a.m. At that access road right at that juncture.
Is it this Saturday, you said?
This coming Saturday, the 25th, yes, 9 a.m.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
It's on where the Blue Route crosses Bryn Mawr Avenue. It's just below Cornerstones, and we go back on the right-of-way for the sewer system and to the creek back there.
And approximately how long are you gonna be?
We'll be out for a couple hours.
Couple hours?
Mhm.
Okay.
But if people come at 9, they can just stay for an hour, and that'd be great. And if they see the cars have already lined up, they can just come on in and join us.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very good, thank you. And I also have another announcement. Josh Hilbert can't be here tonight, but he sent me an announcement that he wanted to share with everyone about something that PECO is offering. He said that they have a Easy Save Energy kit offered through PECO's website for $20. He said it includes a low-flow shower head, 3 compact fluorescents, an LED night light, a couple of flow-restricting aerators for faucets, and he said that he had purchased one, and he was very pleased with it, so he wanted me to share it with everyone. Does anyone else have other announcements? No? Okay. Very good. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. And we have with us, actually, this is very exciting news, we have a new appointment of a liaison from the Board of Health, who is sitting down here to the far right, and this is Herb Hazen, and we're very pleased to have you with us and to have you joining our EAC efforts, so thank you. And we'll get you a nameplate by the next meeting. Okay, so let's move right in then to a quick update on the rain garden project, and then right after that we're going to proceed forward with our special presentations.
All right, not too much to add. The township has its ducks in order, and what we're doing is trying to line up sources for the plants and, more important than that, funding for the project. So we're working on that. We have some good possibilities, and I hope that I'll have some good news by next month.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, now for one of our feature presentation here. And what we had wanted to do was to have a presentation tonight on waste and recycling in Radnor Township. Many of you may have seen the article that had come out in the Suburban on March 11th entitled Refuse Costs Piling Up for Radnor Township. And in that article, it talked about what was going on in the economy now, what the impacts are on our recycling efforts and all of the costs involved, costs associated with waste disposal, costs associated with recycling, and it's really a change in the dynamic, because it used to be the case that we were actually generating a significant amount of revenue for our recyclables, but now that the bottom seems to have fallen out of that market, it's a different dynamic. And so we wanted to talk tonight about the types of materials, wastes, and recyclables that are generated here in Radnor Township, how all of this is processed, what gets recycled, what does not, and what it costs. And we're very pleased to have with us tonight several guest speakers. We have from the township Amy Cuthbertson, who is our Radnor Township Director of Finance. We also have Bill Hagan, the Director of Public Works, and Peggy Hagan, who is our Recycling Coordinator. And so they will start us off with an overview of what the costs, Amy will start off with what all of the costs are that are involved, and Bill and Peggy will then follow with, how we do it, what we do it, and more of the nuts and bolts. And then once we hear all of that and have a good understanding for it, our own Heather Riley will give us a presentation of some of the things that she's done at her home to reduce the waste that they generate, and has some helpful hints for all of us on how we reduce waste. So, Amy, if you'd like to start us off. Thank you again for coming.
Sure. Well, it's nice to meet all of you. This is my first visit to the EAC, so thank you for the invite. As Brenda had mentioned, she had asked some members of staff to come just to help with some education on the costs and hows and whys of the operation. So Bill and Peggy will handle the hows and whys of trash collection and recycling, and I'm here just to give you a little bit more of a picture of the costs related to the whole efforts. So this is our agenda. We're going to talk about the operating costs, the disposal costs, and the total cost. Then we'll get into the recycling environment. As you already know, Radnor Township provides a rear door solid waste and recycled material collection on a weekly basis. Our employees are very proud of this. It sets us apart from other communities in the area. So as I mentioned, what I'm going to do is just try and give you a brief overview of the costs related to that. This is a chart. The first column is actual 2008, and than anticipated 2009. Currently, you can see that the total cost of operations, this is solid waste and recyclable collections, is a net of about $2.5 million last year, and it's anticipated to be about $2.7 million this year. As you can see, our present staffing is 26 full-time employees, 7 part-time, and we'll bring in a few in the summer months to cover the vacation schedules of the full-time employees. That has actually gone down in recent years through attrition that has not been refilled, just to try and keep the cost savings down as low as possible. And Bill will probably go into a little bit more about his staffing. Our truck operating costs, you can see what that comprises. We currently have 12 trash trucks, 6 recycling trucks, and 9 active routes. So of those 12 trash trucks, 9 are actively going, 3 are spares and used for snow plowing and things like that, or when one of the other ones breaks down. You can see that has pretty much stayed the same. 2008 was higher as far as the truck and operating costs because of the high prices of diesel fuel in 2008. Now, we're very lucky that that has gone down and stabilized a bit in 2009, and we hope that continues. Just to go back to the top line personnel costs, you can see that that has stayed relatively consistent. When you're up in the 2.4 million, the swing of less than 20,000 really is nominal. So, as I mentioned, we have been keeping that cost down as far as personnel. The disposal cost is where it gets interesting. You can see last year it was only a little over $20,000. But in 2009, it is jumping up to $235,000. I do have another slide that'll get a little bit more into that, but that is the new disposal costs imposed on us by the county. Our operating supplies, as you can see, they're also pretty consistent, and I netted out what we received last year and what we expect to receive this year on a few revenue items that are related to the trash and recycling efforts. We do collect from residents who request to have large items picked up, and if they're white goods, we will resell them, like refrigerators, washers, dryers, things like that. We can sell, as I mentioned, the white goods. There's not really a market on the recyclables in 2009, but in 2008 there was. And also we do get a performance grant from DEP over, we have seen that gone down, but it's still, I think the last one that we received notification of is going to be in the realm of about $125,000 on the DEP performance grant. So I netted those out to come down to the total operating costs that you're seeing here. And like I said, about 2.5 compared to 2.7 over the 2 years that we're talking about.
Amy, sorry to ask you to go back to that. The 2.5, that's only recycling, or is that
No, this
for
is entire collection, solid waste and recycling efforts.
solid waste and recycling?
Trash and
Anything the trucks pick
Trash,
up.
not just,
Yes.
so it's not just recycling.
No, it's anything that the trucks pick up.
So regular trash
Yes.
disposal
Yes.
as well as recycling?
Yes.
Do the disposal cost, does that include the cost for collecting recyclables when they have no market value?
The cost
Or is that
for-
just straight tipping
That's
fees
just
for
straight tipping
garbage?
fees. The cost for collecting the recyclables is in, are you meaning our personnel costs to go around and collect?
No, I mean, aren't you now having to pay per ton for paper?
Yes, that's all included in the 235.
That is in the
Yes.
230. Okay,
Mhm.
that was my question. And so that's new, where we
Yes.
used to be making money on
Right.
that, you're now
Right, and there's
paying them to
another
take
slide
that.
that I'll go into a little
Okay.
bit more detail, but, and feel free, you can ask me questions. I will wait until after Bill and Peggy are done if you want to ask them all at the same time, whatever you prefer.
Where are the recycling items going now? There's no market for them.
Bill will have a better answer to that once he gets up, because he does know all those things, but I would assume they're sitting and/or landfill.
In the cost figures, it's probably a very small number, but the township, to my understanding, does charge for the households for the blue
We
trash
do.
cans.
We do. We only charge now exactly within, I think, a quarter of what we're paying for it. Actually, up until 2009, the township was paying more than we were charging for the recycling container. So now we're just breaking even on the recycling container costs.
Is that reflected anywhere in here?
It is. It's in that revenue line, the offset in the revenue line.
Thank you.
Now, the disposal cost, which is what swung everything, prior to 2009, all the disposal costs were absorbed by the county through, naturally, your county taxes. The county operates the Delaware County Solid Waste Authority, which processes and gets rid of all of the solid waste in the county. All the municipalities in the county are members of the authority, meaning all the trash from all the municipalities go to the same spot or processed the same way. However, the game changed in August of 2008 when we received a letter saying that due to their own budget issues, we were going to have to start contributing to the costs to dispose of all the trash, which I can understand. I know what budget woes are, but we received that pretty late in the game, considering August we're already started on our budget process. And what they wanted to assess Radnor, you'll see that initial fee of $293,000. Now that was an estimate. They had estimated our waste at a certain number, but the key part was they wanted $30 per ton of trash taken to their incinerators. So that was going to equate to $293,000, which that is a huge nut to crack. It went from the smallest in little Milbourne Borough on the corner of the county. They were going to be assessed $15,000, and Upper Darby Township was the highest. They were going to be assessed $1.2 million. So every municipality, like I said, in the county was going to have to deal with this in one way, shape, or form.
Are we all paying the same fee, the same rate per ton?
It's all the same rate, but based on different tonnage,
Right.
because there's different levels of residency. Due to that, a lot of the managers in the area got together and really lobbied to Delaware County to try and keep this down, at the very least for 2009, because most of us had already started the budget process, and to find, at least in our case, an extra $300,000 was going to be quite a hardship. So we were successful and got the fee down from $30 to $15.90. So that is equating to approximately $155,000. So that's really what we're paying. The actual amount of what we're paying, though, is based on the tonnage that goes to be incinerated. So the $15.90 is the constant. That's what we're all paying, $15.90 a ton. How much you actually pay in each municipality depends on your tonnage, of your waste tonnage. So that's where there is a bit of a variable. The less we send, the less we pay. But right now it's $15.90. And we've already been told that in 2010 it will go up to the $23.45, and that's where the authority anticipates that it will stay for the foreseeable future.
So what was the reasoning? The authority had said that it's the taxes that it had been charging just wasn't enough to cover its operations. Is that?
I believe so. I mean, it was always absorbed by the county,
Yeah.
and they probably just, as much as the rest of us at every governmental level, have some budget woes and probably just couldn't handle it anymore and be absorbed by the county taxes. So they had to look into alternative ways of funding the operation. I believe they have some capital costs that are coming their way that they have to deal with as well, and they felt this was the option that they had to get to.
Okay.
So we have the $229 or the $23.45 per ton to budget for the next foreseeable future. So that's what we're using for 2010, 11, and 12. All of my estimates as far as the dollars were based on tonnage of about 9,700 tons. And that, I believe, is what our tonnage was in 08. Is that right? I believe. Right, 9772. So that is what our actual tonnage of trash was in 2008. So if that goes down, like I said, our fees will go down. If it goes up, then everything goes up. This is a summary of the total cost of service. The operating costs were taken from the previous slide. The capital costs represent approximately, we try and stay on track to replace one new sanitation truck per year. They are kept pretty much their entire life expectancy, and Bill might be able to say precisely, but I do know that we do use the equipment as long as we possibly can. But we do try and replace one per year. For the total costs, as I stated, about 2.7 compared to 2.9. I did reduce that to a cost per household just to give it some perspective. So you're in the 300 to 375 range of how much it really costs per household, and what that equates to mills. The average residential millage in 2008 was, or I'm sorry, the average residential assessment was 313. That would equate to 1.1 of your 3.01 mills goes to trash and recycling efforts, and the percentage of the real estate tax bill that goes to cover all of these efforts. So it is an expensive service, but it's a wonderful service, and like I said, the employees who provide it are very proud of the service. They believe it does set Radnor apart from other municipalities in the area. Now, the recycling environment, as we already alluded to, prior to 2008, we sold recycling materials to Allied Waste, and it was a very nice situation. We were able to sell them. It brought about $100,000 into the general fund coffers each year. But in November 2008, it was August 2008 for the Delaware County Authority. In November 2008, the recycling market bottomed out, and by then we are really into budget. So this was another thing we had to deal with, the loss of approximately $100,000 in revenues. And this is just the resale of your newspapers and plastics and things like that. So we were not only losing $100,000, but they proceeded to tell us that not only were they not going to be able to pay us for it because their resale market had bottomed out, but now we had to pay them to take it off of our hands. So the rates we began paying were $20 a ton for newspaper and $40 for commingled. And with the numbers that we recycle, that's 750 tons of commingled, as I mentioned, and 1,700 tons of newspaper. That equates to about $50,000 to $60,000, just on average, to take away the recycling that we're putting so much of an effort forth to do. So that whole swing, you got the 100 coming off of revenues, you got 50 to 60 going out in additional costs. So the whole gamut was a net negative of 150 to 160,000 just with this Delaware County Authority business and the bottom out of the recycling market. So the future challenges that I just want to bring to your attention, which I think is what we had mentioned with Brenda, identify strategies to keep the solid waste disposal fees down, and how we can do that is to keep the tonnage down, to reduce the waste. That's the only way we're really going to do it at this point, because that rate is going to be dictated by the county solid waste authority. So what we can do, the variable, is to keep the volume down. We are going to keep on top of the resale recycling markets. Both Bill Hagan and Peggy Hagan do stay on top of this. They do look into other wholesalers, not just Allied. They've shopped around to see if we can get better rates on selling things, and they might go into that a little more. But I know they have done that, and they'll continue to stay on top of that just to see if we can get more revenues using other vendors. We will continue to evaluate any potential savings with alternative collection methods. I know I haven't been here for many budget cycles, but from what I hear, each budget cycle this topic will come up, and whether to go to a curbside collection as opposed to a rear door. And there's pros and cons to each, and that'll be a decision for our Board of Commissioners to make. But each year we will give them options and what they could possibly save by doing something for them to just use that additional information to make their decisions. So we'll continue to do that. And just in general, as far as the staff level, Bill is a very diligent department head in this, keeping his operating costs down. I already mentioned as far as the personnel costs, especially in that department, through attrition, some positions have not been refilled, and we just will borrow from other departments when personnel is needed. So I'm sure he'll continue to do that. And in the finance department, we'll continue to watch on our side. So that was what I wanted to bring to you as far as the cost. Bill and Peggy are going to give you a big picture, I think, as far as operations, and then when they're done, I'd be happy to take questions along with them.
Great. Can I ask one quick question just about, are there many options for recyclables? Like, are there many people that
There are a few vendors, and Bill and Peggy may get into this, but from what I understand in talking with them and the ones they've already looked at, some are further away from us, so you do need to take a couple more factors into it. The added time of personnel to drive it 10 more miles back and forth, just to make a nominal amount more on the tonnage. Right. And I know he has looked into that, and he'll continue to look into that as they always evaluate different vendors to sell to. Okay?
It was an excellent overview. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And as I said, this is Bill Hagan, our Director of Public Works, and Peggy Hagan, our Recycling Coordinator. Thank you both for coming tonight.
Thank you very much for having us. What we're going to do first is just walk through basic operations of each department to try and give you a little insight on how operations work over at the Public Works facility and the picking up of the trash and the recycling. As you know, we pick up trash once a week. We work on Monday and Tuesdays on trash. We use 25-yard packer trucks. They're diesel fuel operated. There's no alternate fuel in them. All our solid waste that we collect here in Radnor Township ends up at the Delaware County transfer station over in Marple, and from there it goes down to Cavanta down in Chester. 100% of our municipal waste ends up at Cavanta. I'm going to give you a list of some items that are unacceptable in the trash. You'd be surprised how much of this stuff does end up in the trash, and we have to let people know. I'm just going to walk through the list real quick here. Flammable liquids, that should be obvious as to why they shouldn't be in there. Trash truck fires, combustibles. Asphalt, you'd be surprised. Temporary patch, when people are patching around their house or in their driveway, and the leftovers, the spoils, end up in the trash truck. Medical wastes. This is a big problem. You'd be surprised when people are doing in-house treatment, how many times it ends up in the trash trucks. And actually at the transfer stations themselves, they have radiation detectors. So we've had hot loads go through there, and the truck gets quarantined until they send out someone to locate where the waste is. Obviously, as we're going through it, and I have to send the personnel over there to pull the trash apart to try and locate it. That's not something the county will do. Once we do find the trash, obviously we try to go through the bags to look for the person that put the bags in there so that we can get notification out. But this happens on we've been lucky. So far this year we haven't had to spend any money on it. Animals and animal waste ends up in the trash. Really shouldn't be in there. Sewage sludge, don't see much of that. Industrial waste, you'll get we get a little bit of homeowner stuff that ends up in there, people doing projects around the house. Motor vehicle parts, motor vehicle oil. You'd be surprised what people try to hide in a bag of trash, whether it's paint, what have you.
Excuse me, Phil, can I just go back to the animal waste as a future dog owner? If you don't put dog waste in the garbage, and you can't compost it.
Take it in the house,
down.
flush
Okay,
it down the
good
toilet.
now. I know I don't have a dog yet. I know now. Okay.
We went over the construction, demolition. Any hazardous materials, your paint thinners, shellacs, anything that you have laying around the garage that's old. Obviously, you want to get rid of it, save it for the hazardous waste day, and transport it over to the county facility. Don't put it in the trash stream. Bulk items, they don't go in the trash trucks. We do have a service every Wednesday if we don't have a holiday week where a resident can come in and sign up, pay per pounds. I think it's $25 for the first 150 pounds and so on. We ask for an itemized list so that the guys know exactly what they're picking up when they go out there. Anything that is not on the list will be left. People will try and put a gas grill out and not tell you that there's a propane tank with it. Well, those things can't be picked up. They have to be picked up separate because we get a separate charge for items like that.
Can I ask one more question?
Certainly.
The reason for not having shellac and paints and all that, that's because this is incinerated and the pollution it creates? I mean, in addition to possible fires on the truck. Just I think if people understood part of why not to sneak it in there, they might not, you know.
And if something happened at Cavanta and it had to go to the landfill, now all the leach has gone into the ground itself, and you don't want that in the landfills. But yeah,
Right, because there's certain types of landfills that are set up to accept hazardous waste and other types that don't have the protections
Right, so
in
I'm
them
just saying,
likewise.
but if it went through undetected, it would get incinerated,
yes,
which would be a bad thing, yes?
it would be a bad thing, but I'm sure that they're using furnaces where there's not too much manual labor around the furnaces on the stuff that's being burned.
They also have many levels of filters on there. I was over at Cavanta, and they have all kinds of filters coming out for the air that's coming out of that plant. so that they're not getting that, but they also dump everything on the floor that comes in. And they actually look through this stuff, so they're going to try and be as careful as they can not to do that.
Just went through the quick list of the no-nos in the trash there, and here's a sample of a sticker that we use on the trash collection. If we find things wrong with the trash, there's a bunch of options on here for men to check. Normally the driver has a roll of stickers with him. If the gentleman is close to the truck, we do try to put notification on the cans as to what people are doing wrong so that they understand. Sometimes these guys will run out of stickers, but what they'll do is they'll call it into the base station, and they'll leave a note with the refuse foreman, hey, we didn't go to such and such a house, there was paint cans in the back, and that's why it was left. So some of the other things, if they notice a bunch of recyclables in the trash, they will put it on the sticker, recyclables in trash, to try and urge people to recycle the material.
Good.
This slide here is showing you some solid waste. In 2008, as Amy said, we were at 9,772.59 tons of residential trash were collected within the township. That comes out to, per household annually, is approximately 1.28 tons. Weekly is 187 tons, 187.93 tons per week for our trash collections that are transported over to the Marple Transfer Station. It comes out to about 50 pounds per week for each household, is what it's coming out to. As you can see, in 2007, 2006, the rates were higher. Did I bring that up? And here's just an example, just so people don't get scared and think that the trash totals are going through the roof. Here are actually some tonnage numbers where you can see in 2008 we were 568 tons less than 2007. 2007 we were 632 tons than 2006. I don't know what happened in 2006. I have some other data here that I just pulled some other numbers. We were actually 153 tons higher than 2005. 2005 we were 249 tons less than 2004, and in 2004 we were 126 tons less than 2003. So on the average we have been reducing trash and been recycling more. So there has been reductions in the trash stream.
Does there seem to be a correlation between when we see less tons of trash and more recyclables?
The recycling is going to stay, it does stay about the same. One thing that does affect our recycle totals at the end of the year, and Peggy will get more into that, is our commercial tonnage. Because the commercial tonnage gets mixed with residential tonnage for our performance grants.
Okay. I think there was just an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer yesterday or the day before talking about trash tonnages just generally being down in 2008 because of the economy. People were buying less, so they're throwing less away. Only counts for 2008, though.
We have some solid numbers here, though. So the trends look good as far as the tonnage coming down.
Good.
And we look forward to that.
But you have, I mean, each house, on average, in Radnor produces 1 ton, over 1.25 tons of garbage per year.
That's correct.
Does everyone hear that? That is a huge amount of trash.
Well, you're going to educate everybody on how we can reduce that,
right? That is a jaw-droppingly amazing amount of trash. And it doesn't mean we're not like everyone else, but that's a huge responsibility for you guys to haul that all away.
That's an average breakdown. So what you have to consider, too, is there may be some two-person families out there that aren't generating one. You know, those numbers are going to change.
Right. I mean, I'm just saying that's a lot of
You have families out there that have 6 and 7 kids, and, you know, there's a lot of things get generated with kids, as most of you know. Yeah. Do you want to talk about Covanta?
As Bill mentioned earlier, all of our waste goes to Covanta, all of our solid waste. And I did a little research on them. I was over at Covanta. I went on a tour. It's fabulous. If you ever get the chance to go over there, go. It's really neat. It smells, but it's, they actually come in and they have a huge, huge floor where they dump everything. They come in and they dump all the trash, and they go through it, and then they have conveyor belts that take it up. The only thing they don't really look for are the metals. They allow those to burn because they don't burn with what they're at the level they're burning the trash at. So that will go through, and the metals come out at the end, and they recycle those. So Covanta began its operations in 1986. Since then, these are some really neat facts about Covanta. They've processed 250 million tons of municipal solid waste. Now, this is throughout the country, and converted it into energy. They've offset enough greenhouse gas emissions to have the same benefit as planting 6 billion trees. They've generated enough clean, renewable electricity to power 11 million homes. They've preserved hundreds of acres of land and habitat. 250 million tons of waste is enough to cover the entire island of Manhattan 30 feet deep. So that's a lot of waste that they've kept out of landfills. They've recycled approximately 5 million tons of metal, and that would have otherwise been landfilled, which is enough metal to build 60 Golden Gate bridges. So it's really, it's a great thing that our waste is going there.
Yeah, it is. Something.
Great.
Maybe we should give them more. I'm teasing.
One of the other questions that I had was the rear door versus curbside. Obviously, rear yard collection is going to cost more because of personnel, and then really your only savings there is personnel. You would still need trucks to pick up trash. You would be able to, with going curbside, cut your crew sizes down. Right now, because we are so thin, we are down to 9 trucks with 2 men on. Curbside, we could adjust the routes. We could probably see a few more personnel disappear, part-time help. You still need to operate. After a year or two of going through a curbside collection, it may not even take a year or two, just a year's analysis, because at different times during the year you have different weights that are going into the trash trucks. Obviously, your summers are light. Around here, a lot of people go away in Radnor Township. So June, July, and August are light times. But when you come back and all the kids are coming back to school, September, October, everybody's getting back in the house. They're starting to do things in the house, and things start to end up in the trash. There's certain times, right after Christmas, trash is through the roof. They get new things, the old things get thrown out. If they're not handed down to somebody or recycled, things end up in the trash. So the reductions that you would see would be in staffing and possibly lose 1 trash truck in the beginning. And you may be able to see some cuts down the road once you were comfortable with the program and make sure you get the job done with what you had left. In-house collection versus contracted service. Right now, as you know, Radnor residents do not get charged a trash fee. Most other municipalities in the area. I live over in Haverford Township, and we are $125 per household. And the reason some of these municipalities are doing that is to offset the costs. And some of these other municipalities have had these fees in place. Don't get me wrong. When the county came out with all these additional fees, I think we used to pay $50 in Havertown, and it went up to $125. So everybody's trying to offset their costs. The private collection, that's a decision for the board would have to make. I think the rear yard collection, it has its perks. Granted, over the last probably 10 years, with a lot of real estate changing hands, people come from other municipalities, from other areas, and they're used to bringing their cans to the curb. And right now, we're probably at somewhere in the low 30s of a percentage of cans that are coming out to the curb now. So it's about a third of the way there. One thing with the rear yard collection is you don't have the cans laying all over the place. Windy day over in Havertown where I live, you may have to go 3-4 doors down to pick your can up or your lid. You may not get your lid or your can back. So there's some pluses and minuses to both sides of the coin. Obviously, the curbside at this point in time with the economy and everything, certainly would save some money. The private collection also, I think in Radnor Township, I think that this is something that Radnor Township would want to bid out and try and get the same hauler in here. This way you don't have trash trucks running up and down your streets 3, 4, 5 days a week. I think into a different township, you have a choice of 3 different haulers that you're allowed to use. They're going to dictate to you what day they're coming. So I think if it was to go privatized, you would need to bid something like that out, because you would want to set the schedules here on when you wanted these trucks on your streets, and when you don't want to see trash trucks up and down your street 5 days a week. So another negative on the private collection would be the loss of your refuse fleet. I would have to keep 3 trucks in-house for leaf collection. I use 3 front-end loaders when we're doing leaf collection. I'll go into that when we get into yard waste. And we're using trash trucks. And what happens over November, you get into early December, you get a lot of wet weather, the vacuums don't work anymore. You wear them out. And you have to go with the trash trucks and the front-end loaders. So they're just a couple of things. If you lost those, we plow our state roads. We're one of the few municipalities in the area that take care of our Route 30s, Conestoga roads. A lot of residents don't know what state roads are. I get called for potholes on Route 30, on Conestoga Road, Radnor, Chester, Matson Ford. They're all state roads. But during the winter, we maintain those roads. We take care of them. It's a big to-do if you don't have the trucks. The last storm that we had in March was a perfect example. Everybody knows we went to a holiday schedule. We had to skip trash that week. But I had the trash trucks. They constantly, all they did was circle. They'd finish the state roads. They'd go back out. And what that does is it helps you cut down on putting salt on the roads too. The more snow you can keep off the roads and keep it, pretty close to the pavement, the less materials you have to use in de-icing processes too. So.
Okay. Can I ask one question about the trash fee? Earlier, Amy had said that sounds like about 39% for the average household of our real estate taxes is for trash removal. I think that was a number that was in here. Like, how does that, when people do a trash fee, is that more seen like a supplementary cost or way of addressing that? Here it says percentage of total average real estate tax per house. It says $377, which it says 39% of our taxes. Like,
Can I address that? That was just illustrative purposes to show that if you did equate it to a millage, that it would represent a big chunk of the millage.
Right. It's a big, yeah.
Just to match that number, the privatization, if you went outside, I was talking to a couple people over in Turdiff and Easttown, and they're running about $412 a year. I think it's $96 or $104 a quarter is what it was. So $416. So the cost is that cost will still be there.
Right.
What if anything do we get back from the state for plowing those state roads you mentioned?
We get, I believe it's.
I didn't bring my budget book with me, but we get it's under 50,000, somewhere in that area for.
It's right around
yeah.
there. It's around 45,000. And
how does that relate to the cost?
It's probably not that close. It depends on how bad your winters are. I mean, there's winters that we've walked away from the plate with a nice chunk of change. But there's also winters that, you take your 93, 94 when we had all that ice, and you're constantly going through material. It doesn't cover the cost of doing it. But I think one of the comfort zones there is when you have township personnel taking care of your state roads, as you've seen out in Chester County and some of the places in Delaware County where they don't do their state roads. The township roads can look great, but if you can't get anywhere on the state roads on your major thoroughfares, it's a nightmare. And our systems are set up that we take care of the state roads first. We do all the secondaries, which are all your major cut-throughs, and all the tertiary roads get done last. Just a little insight on the plowing operations.
Bill, I should have said this earlier, perhaps, but now municipal solid waste is now considered a renewable energy source?
That's correct.
So that means that it can be viewed as sort of an alternative energy in a way, and it has BTU value per ton. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't have the Covanta printout of the gigawatts and all the other energies that they're putting out there. I mean, we just gave you some of their statistics that we thought were pretty impressive as far as the energy that they're generating and with the greenhouse gases that they are pulling off the table.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly go over the recycling in Radnor. As most of you are aware, we pick up the recycling 1 day a week. We pick up commingled, which is the aluminum, the cans, the glass, and the plastics. Now, we only pick up plastics 1 and 2 currently. That's just the way we're set up. We want to make sure that they're getting sold and getting somewhere. We also do clean paper products, which we pick up separately from the commingled currently. All of our recyclables are taken over to BFI over in King of Prussia, or Allied Waste. They go by ES.
And I guess, Peggy, a point that you had made to me when we had talked a while back was the importance of keeping those paper products separated so that when the market is good, then you get better return when you sell those.
Currently, I'll get into that with
Okay.
the pros and cons of the single stream. But yes, if you have your materials separated, you can sell them if one value shoots up over the other. You could do that. So that's an advantage of keeping them separated. And also, if you go to single stream or you pick them up together and you get everyone used to that, if one was really high and one low and you wanted to sell it, it's hard to get everyone to go back to the original way of separating recyclables.
And just back to that same subject, there is some question about how much all the other numbers, the different numbers, it may be more difficult to be recycled, so they may not be actually being recycled.
Correct. It's more difficult to sell them, but when we went over and discussed it with BFI, and they guaranteed us that if we do go 3 to 7s, that they are being used. They're not sitting on their property. So that was good to know.
There's a lot of 3 to 7s that are in our stuff now that are going over there. They're not going to turn it away, and they are finding markets for it. And you'll see when Peggy gets further in here. There's actually a slide that will give an explanation of where everything is going.
Right. And just one question on the overhead. You have plastic bottles 1 and 2. It is plastics. Like if it's a container and it has the 1 or the 2 with the circle on it.
Yes,
then
it
you
is containers, but you have to be careful.
They have to have the number on it.
Right. It's not big tubs because what happens is some of them may say 1 or 2, like it's a big Home Depot tub, but that just means that there's 1 and 2 mixed in with the plastic that it's made out of. So you have to be very careful.
But if you had a yogurt container or a vitamin or
as long as they're rinsed
salad
out or
container,
they're not full of food, you're fine. Right. Okay, now some of the totals we did the breakdown just like we did for the trash, just to kind of keep it comparable. In 2008, we had 2,679 tons of recycling annually. Per household, that came out to 699 pounds. Weekly, 51 pounds for the township, 13 pounds per resident of recycled materials. Where? No, 13 pounds. Right, per resident. Okay. And just like the trash, the recycling does get stickered if there's stuff in there that's, not acceptable. You can see the list there. I spoke with the head of the refuse department just to see, what their most common problem was. He said the most common issue in Radnor is that people put the loose paper in plastic bags instead of paper bags, and we can't take any plastic bags. They don't want that over at BFI. So that's a big issue. Don't put your recyclables in plastic bags. Just loosen the can or the paper tied or in a paper bag is fine. But that seems to be their biggest problem. Okay. What happens to our recyclables? I gave everyone a copy of this. It just shows the aluminum cans are shipped to processors. The steel cans, the same. Aluminum is converted into aluminum cans, back into aluminum cans, and the steel into new sheet metal. Glass bottles are sent to make new glass, And the plastics, it's pretty interesting what the plastics are used for. The plastic bottles are cleaned and ground to pellets. They're melted. They're used in making carpet fiber. Number twos are shipped and they're brought in, they're made into plastic lumber and other products. So it's interesting what your plastics go into. And the newspaper cardboard, of course, is turned around to paper mills. And that makes just new paper products, which we're more aware of what paper goes into than anything else in the plastics. Now, the 3 to 7s, I don't have where they go, but they also go and are sold to make other products. So, and we did make sure of that before we started taking that over there.
If any of you get a chance, take a ride over to Allied, make a phone call, or call me. I could give you the name of a person to set up for tours over there. It is phenomenal, the separation process that recyclables go through, but bring your own dust mask. We went over there, and I don't know how some of those people work in that facility for hours at a time. We were there 15 minutes, 20 minutes walking through. But it's neat. They show you all the conveyors. They show you how they pull the paper out. There's giant magnets as these things, as steel's going past the belt, and it's just flying up in the air. And then there's air involved where it's pushing certain weighted plastics into one bin, and it's just phenomenal, the separation process. And if you get a chance, like I said, give me a call. I can give you a contact over at Allied. Go over there and take a look at the operation. It's neat. It's real neat.
Okay, and then I know we were discussing single stream on and off. That's being discussed. There are pros and cons to single stream. Single stream, really all single stream means is everything goes into one can. Instead of separating it, it all goes into one can, which actually makes it more easier, like an easier use, and I think more people would probably recycle more if they're putting it all in one can versus separating it out. That's one of the pros of single stream. Another is that trash trucks can be used to pick up the recyclable items. You don't need separate recycling trucks and trash trucks. You can use your trash trucks to pick up the single stream items, which means that in turn the recycle trucks could be sold. It's a great sell to the residents. They're only going to have to use one can. And then the ease of use is great because it's going to bring up our totals for the 904 grant, because that's we're eligible for money based on commingled and paper. So if we get more totals for that, we'll have more total for the 904 performance grant. Now the 904, just to give you an idea, since 1998, the 904 performance grant has brought in over $1.3 million for the recycling program. So it's really nice. You know, it's a great thing to have. There's also a 902 grant that DEP offers. That's offered, I think, every 2 years approximately, and that's more for equipment or starting a program. In 2003, we got our front-end loader that I believe is at the Willows, or at Skunk Hollow,
It's one of the ones that we use at Skunk Hollow.
Right, and we got $94,000 for that. That paid for the front-end loader, which was nice. And in 2005, we got a grant where we got, I think, over $5,600, and that was for 407 recycle cans. And we did a mailing to all the residents, all the commercial and institutional properties regarding recycling. So it really does. All of that really helps, you know, the recycling program, especially now that we're paying to get rid of it. Curbside collection and single stream, you know, they could go hand in hand at a changeover if that ever happens. That's just another plus. And the collection schedule for residential recycling would be actually easier to follow. Not that it's difficult now, but it would be actually easier. And I think
we've come up with some plans for the changeover, and we could be ready to go. Probably 6 weeks it would take us to get educated, get a calendar out. What we're trying to do is save money and try to tie it to, if the board decided they wanted to go curbside, there's some other changes that would be tied to this. Routes would be changed. Days of collection are going to change. I don't want to divulge all that information. There's Wednesdays would be a good day for us because that would concentrate on brush only and bulk pickup. That would take place every week except holiday weeks. So there's some benefits. Like I said, it's got to be board driven though. You need a majority of votes up there in order to change the programs.
Is the board, are you saying that the board is considering moving to single stream recycling? Is that what you're saying, or?
I would say.
Or curbside.
We had actually talked about going last April, or actually it was this April, excuse me. And we had started working on that in the summer of 2008. And as our plans moved forward and the economy went into the tank and the recyclable markets followed that, we were thinking to ourselves, okay, as we're going forward here, do we encourage more recycling now and pay on average $25 to $27 a ton to get rid of it, or do we pay $14 or $15.90, I believe, at the county? So right now, in Delaware County, I believe we're the second highest recycler in Delaware County. We're in the upper 40s, like 47, 48%, which is phenomenal because the people we follow is Springfield. And Springfield has so much commercial property over there, and the amount of commercial tonnage that they get from their recycling from the commercial people is why they're number one. We don't have any malls here. We're basically residential. We have a few areas, you know, the Route 30 corridor in Wayne, that's business oriented. Pretty much everything else, you got your small communities down in Garrett Hill in the Rosemont area. You know, there's a few people down there. Down by Haverford Road, there's some businesses down there. But if you look at the percentage of our residential and our commercial compared to somebody like Springfield and where our totals are at, it's pretty phenomenal. The residents are doing a great job following the recycling program.
Bill, that's a very encouraging metric, and I was wondering, is that true when you measure sort of on these annual total tonnage recycling metrics as well as I think your statistic was percent participating. Is there a sense that at, call it 2,700 pounds a year per household, is that very good for this area? Is that a good rate?
Well, the recycling rate itself is 47%, not people participating. What we recycle.
47% of
right.
the total solid waste.
Correct.
Okay.
Is recycled.
So that's very high. And is that the best metric for comparing our performance as a community?
Yes.
In terms of our.
Yes, it is, and that comes through the county. We give them their numbers. They do all the number crunching over there and give us our rate for recycling. And
Right.
I think the state, I think they're originally they wanted everyone to kind of aim for 27%. So we are
we're doing
very,
quite well.
We're 20% above that. So.
And I think with a little push and the markets rebounding, coming back, where you do start to reap benefits on recycled materials, the goal would to get above 50%, and I think that would be phenomenal. And I don't think that's not, I don't think that's not attainable. I think it is. Right now with the markets and everything that's going through, we're seeing a little rebound right now in the paper markets. They're coming around. So all we can do is hope that everything else will follow suit. I have some vendors out there that said to me, hey, look, if you bring me your paper, I won't charge you anything for it. But I'm going to do a 42-mile round trip in a truck that's getting 5 miles to the gallon. And the wear and tear on the vehicle, the breakdowns, it's just not worth the commute to take the paper down there. Where we're at Allied right now, and just a little background on Allied, we've been taking to Allied for so long. We are actually getting one of the best, if not the best, recycle charge, which sounds terrible, but most municipalities are paying anywhere from $50 to $55. We're somewhere, after you average out paper and commingled, we're about 27. So we're almost cut in half. And part of that is the longstanding relationship that we've had with Allied Waste, and they don't want to lose us as a customer. And they're constantly, I mean, Chris just sent us an email last week saying, hey, just want to let you know, paper's coming around, things are starting to look up. So, you know, it's a constant process. I dealt with somebody out in Malvern last 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, our number 6 newsprint isn't just newsprint. We have cardboard, there's pizza boxes, there's other things that go in there. And this guy said, well, we could take it, we can do this, and we could do that for you. I said, okay. It was a 30-mile round trip. I went up there, and when we opened up the truck, he flipped out because of the different, you know, it wasn't just number 6 newsprint. He thought he was going to take this number 6 newsprint out of the truck, bail it, and send it out to the mill. And I got a call and said, hey, I don't really think I can handle your trucks up here. And I said, well, that's fine. But we are out there experimenting with different people. To see.
Now, what happens if you do the single stream? Does the value of the paper go down? Like, is there any indication that maybe the paper is what would retain value?
It may, but currently, if we went single stream now, we'd be paying almost the same rate to get rid of that as we would with our 2 combined rates right now.
And what's the incentive to switch to single stream?
Single stream, it just makes it easier for the residents.
Right.
And it's going to...
But if you're residents who are already, that's theoretical. I mean, if you're residents who are already used to your
But the ones
system.
that
But
aren't
the ones that aren't,
or-
if you can encourage people that aren't recycling to start taking hold of the program and pull those recyclables out of the trash stream, when the markets are good and when you're getting money for it, it's a benefit. And that's what I think is going to throw you over the 50% mark. And I think Amy will smile if the tonnage fees that are going to Delaware County, once we start to get some money back on the recycling, you know, eventually it'll come around.
I guess I'm just wondering, and this maybe goes to the point that Heather is making too, that, you know, if there is a good chunk of the township that's, you know, pretty good with putting the paper separated from the recyclables, and then we switch over to single stream, and that maybe gets more people on board, but then those people that don't mind separating it, that could be providing you the extra value for the paper if they continue to separate it. You know, maybe you're not getting the complete value
Well,
of that.
I think the issue there is then you need to go back to separate trucks. You can't take paper over mixed in with single streams, even if it's separated, because then it's contaminated with the, you know, whatever fluids or whatever's in the commingled. So if you go to single stream, then you're going to reduce your truck fleet because you're not going to need the recycle trucks anymore. You're just going to need the trash trucks. So it's either one way or the other. Like
I can't see how single stream works. You know,
Well, I'm telling you, take a ride over to Allied. You got to go through the plant. It's phenomenal, the system of separation.
But there's not more cost involved for Allied.
There's more.
It's got to be more labor. I mean,
for them it is.
For them.
Right now, with the prices that we're getting, they're struggling to sustain their industries, their buildings, you know.
Yeah.
Their operations are struggling right now. They're
Right,
not
so what
making-
happens when they realize single stream's really costing them and they have?
Well, they spent millions of dollars to change their plant over to handle single stream, so I think they're going to stay that way, just for that reason.
And some of the other people that we've talked to, your Newman papers, people do not want to be pushed out of the market because single stream comes in. People are looking to convert, but they're waiting for the opportune time to convert. So right now it's just with the way the industry is, they're not looking to spend $1 billion on refabricating your plant to separate recyclables. They want your paper, but once somebody goes to single stream, your paper degrades a little bit because you have glass chips in there. It's dirtier paper, you know, and the mills process it differently.
Bill, where does the leaf composting program fit into trash or refuse or recycling?
We're going to get to that. We're working through here. Did we beat single stream up enough?
Yeah.
And as Heather was saying, that's you know, one of the cons for single stream is that you don't have the chance, and Brenda, to remarket your materials as well, like the paper, if the paper goes up. So that is one of the biggest cons for that.
I think
does
one
it
of
mean
the-
getting rid of our trucks if we did single stream?
Excuse me?
Is there any connection between going to single stream and using our own trucks and people?
Yes, we would, our fleet would decrease, correct?
Well, if we go single stream, we would, we would.
You would contract out for that, you wouldn't,
No,
or would we collect? We would still collect.
We would decrease our trucks by 6 because we would get rid of the recycle trucks. We would be able to use the 25-yard packers to pick up the commingled. Everything can go in one truck, which is good. I mean, you're taking 6 trucks off the road, so that it's a benefit for the environment also.
But you're beating up those trucks you have, so they're going to turn over fast.
But those trucks are being used regardless. Right now, we're running a two-truck system. You know, the commingles are going into the flatbed recycle trucks, and you have the paper going into the packers.
Okay. All right, I beat up single stream enough.
Well, I think it's counterintuitive. It sounds like a step backwards. Like we're home, we're recycling, we're separating everything out. To be putting it all back together seems more trouble for those of us who like the flat paper and cardboard over here and the bottles and cans over here. So it's just, you have to sort of re-educate people if this would work better. You know, because really you're sorting it at home or they're sorting it at the factory. It's getting sorted.
Right, and I just question the thought that these people who aren't recycling, it's because it's a pain to put it in 2 containers, because really recycles really fill up. So,
Right.
you know, my 3 separate areas quickly fill up. So if it was all commingled, then you'd just be taking recyclables out all the time. So I just don't know. These people who don't recycle, all of you out there, whoever you are, like I don't know how they think, so I don't know that single stream is going to encourage them to recycle more. It's my only question. Aren't there studies out there?
And you can still, if we're single stream, you can still separate. It doesn't mean you
Right,
can't
if you want to,
separate.
right.
That's how we're going to pick it up.
Right.
But yeah, I think, you know, as we all know, it's all a decision. It's your decision to recycle. And there are people who just, unfortunately, if they don't, you know, I don't know how you force them to do it. But the single stream, I mean, some people, you know, they only want 1 can. They don't want to have to put paper in separately or bundle it or put it in a bag, or they want to put it all in the same can. So it
You
would
have
be
us so
easier
well
to-
trained, Peggy. We can't think about it any other way.
But financially, I still don't see the incentive for the single stream, because right now we pay more for them to take away the single stream than we do for paper, correct?
Well, no, the combined it averages out to be
When
about
you
the same.
figure out the combined, it's about the same, because your paper obviously is heavier than your commingled as far as the tonnage goes.
Right, so why are we changing for something that's the same? I don't
Well, we're not definitely changing.
understand.
That's just.
Yeah, or why are we
they brought it.
entertaining, yeah.
Is it a cost issue? Is it, well, we can get rid of a truck, we can get rid of some trucks and try to save some costs out? Because that looks like a very short term, you know, if that's the only thing, kind of a very short term view.
Talking to some of the other industry people, they think that single stream is the future. And there's going to be places, that whether you separate it or not, that are going to give you single stream rates for your tonnage. That's what I'm getting from BFI. That's what I'm getting from Newman Paper, from Blue Mountain. Everybody's going to this single stream, trying to encourage people, and this is what it's supposed to do. If you make it easier, they'll do it. Will that happen? I don't know. I think every individual person has to make the decision to recycle. One of the questions you asked me was about containers in downtown Wayne. We did a pilot program up there. I have 2 containers up there now, and 60% of it is trash after every weekend.
And where are the containers? What kind of community education's been done about the containers? Do you know, that's...
Well, I mean,
That was the Wayne Business Association was supposed to be educating
The containers
themselves,
are
right?
self-explanatory. It says recyclables on the container. It has a round hole for cans and bottles. It has
Where are they?
one in front of the movie theater and one in front of Rite Aid.
So right next to each other.
Well, we pick up the trash in Wayne, so we know where the heavy spots are, and they were the ideal
Right, that's
locations.
probably where kids are hanging out.
Anywhere in Wayne I mean,
Is where kids
it
are
doesn't
hanging
matter where you put them. I have a couple sitting down.
No, I'm just trying to wonder, like, why that's heavy, and I'm thinking it's kids hanging out at the movie theater and the Griffin, and...
If you look through the business district, you got pie in the sky. If you let those cans go for more than 2 days, they're all overflowing. And if the cans are full, they're using the recycled cans as trash containers. I had the same problem down at Tennell Field. We went out, we bought 2 beautiful recycled containers that have a little sign on them. The signs got ripped off. It all ends up, you know, there's a percentage of plastic bottles in there, but we don't have the manpower to sit here, dump a trash can, and manually sort it. I mean, it's just not cost effective. So we are, and we didn't pull them out of there. We still have hope that someday somebody's going to wake up and say, hey, we shouldn't use them as trash cans.
Or maybe you could put them somewhere near a school where the school would volunteer to do education around it.
And there's nothing wrong with the schools doing their own programs too, where they could have their cans out there. And because if you
It's the
start,
cost of the
if you
cans,
start, but if you start the education in your grade schools, it's going to carry on
We're working
for the
on
rest of their life. And I mean, not that people aren't doing that, but it starts at home. Where are we at?
Are we done with?
Yeah, I think we
I
beat
think
that
so.
one out
Commercial
pretty
work.
good.
Yard waste.
We're just going to do a quick overview of the commercial and institutional. Commercial and institutional are required to separate recyclables. They are required to separate cans, paper, glass, bimetallic cans, corrugated paper, and leaves. It's up to the business to develop a system there at the place of business. And the haulers for the place of business do report to me every year. We do get a list. Each hauler sends us the tonnage. They're very funny. They do not give names of their clients. They will not, for any reason, do that. It's very rare that you'll get that. So what we do is we'll get all the haulers, and they'll give us a list by number, not by name, and then all the tonnages. So that's how we know what the tonnages are for the commercial. I also do mail to all the businesses, and some of them will also let me know who the haulers are, and that way we find new haulers that are in the township that we weren't aware of, that were picking up recyclables. The multifamily properties, they are also must recycle. Theirs is just a little different. They're required to separate paper products and leaves, and then they have a choice of 2 items from the list, whether it be glass cans, bimetallic cans, or plastic bottles, and they also report to us. In 2008, the commercial totals for Radnor, the total tons was 8,426. Now, it's a big tonnage, but compared to residential, but there's also a lot of construction material, which is great that they're recycling it. So that is in there. That's 4,800 tons. So that's a big chunk of that number. But as you can see, our commercial properties really do recycle, and they recycle all types of things. It's nice to see, like the food waste. They're doing the fluorescent tubes, the batteries, the oil filters.
Where are they doing the food waste?
The restaurants have their own haulers who pick up the food waste and recycle it, and then they report that to us.
And they're doing it's a great job, but they are required to do it.
They're not required. They are not required. The only thing on this list that they're required to do is the commingled and the paper, similar to the residential. Everything else for us is a bonus that they recycle.
Oh, that's
and
great.
they do a great job of it.
And I think that the mailing that Peggy does emphasizes the importance of recycling, and that's why you have these other items on there. If there's a venue for somebody to recycle something and somebody is an adamant recycler, they're going to take advantage of it.
Are we unusual in requiring at least partial recycling for commercial, or is that typical?
No, I think
for
that's pretty standard throughout. I think that's part of the mandate from the state that your
From the
commercial
state.
district has to recycle.
Are there any businesses that really stand out? You know, are there as
Once
lead
again, it's hard to
recyclers?
tell because
they don't give us.
the haulers don't give names.
They don't give names
Okay.
when they give their totals.
You get numbers on a spreadsheet,
Okay.
and you know it doesn't say that
This would be nice to know
the
if there's.
Villanova Conference Center does this or somebody else does that. Where Sunbrook was over there, or Brandywine is doing this. You won't
Yeah.
get those numbers.
Well, I do have to say Villanova is one of our best.
Yeah.
I
Being a
do see
lead,
their
yeah.
numbers because they have their own recycling coordinator over there,
Mhm.
and they sell their own materials. They don't have a hauler come in, they take it all and sell it. So I do see their numbers, and there are a lot of these numbers on here, the furniture, I mean,
Are they doing single stream or?
they right now have
Coming
it
up.
separated because they do have bins that you can, as Radnor residents, you can go down and use their recyclable bins as well. But they're separated as well, right now. And they're commingled and paper goes to Allied. They take it over there. So the businesses do a great job in Radnor. And then we'll let you do the yard waste.
Talk to you a little bit about our yard waste and leaf composting program. Every year in the months of November, December, sometimes January, February, depending on the weather. We'll be picking up leaves on township and state roadways. Last year, we picked up, I believe it was over 1,300 cubic yards. I believe it was, what do we got here? On the next slide here. You have this broken down in tons, okay, I was gonna say. About 2,149 tons. Of that total there, obviously the leaves are picked up by district on the township and state roadways. They're hauled to Skunk Hollow. There is DEP regulations over there about length of windrows, size of windrows, height of windrows. That is a constant work over there. It's a work in progress. It's not a site that could be just left go. Years ago, I'm going to say 10 years ago, before DEP got involved, you used to go over there and the plants on the windrows were 12 feet high, and it was just, there was sunflower seeds, tomatoes, there was all kinds of stuff that was over there. But now with the DEP regs, they don't want to see any foliage on your leaves that are being composted. So it's a constant turning operation, and the more you turn them, and the more moisture that hits them, the faster they break down. Last year, I lost my numbers there. The compost that we make over there, we stockpile it, and we took over very good, thank you for your help. We took 156 truckloads out to the EAC locations, which you folks pushed to have those locations, the Willows, Skunk Hollow, Fenimore, Hare Park, Ithan Valley. They're pretty much all over the township. Tennell Field, we have 7 of them throughout the township. Last year we took 156 truckloads out there. What we figure is it's about 6 cubic yards per truckload when we drop that off. 936 cubic yards went back out to residents. That's 234 tons of material that people got back from putting their leaves out on the streets, which is pretty phenomenal.
That's great.
You'd be surprised, especially this time of year. We can load them up on Friday. We have to load them on Monday. Sometimes certain locations are hotter than others. Fenimore, I can't keep the product in there. It just walks out of there.
It's near my house.
I don't know where it all goes, but it goes. Some of the hidden locations, your Hare Park, that I might stay there. I may only take 5 or 6 truckloads there. But your hot spots up at South Devon, Philippone Park, disappears out of there. I mean, there's times that we put it in there on Monday morning, and you go by Monday afternoon, and I have to call did you drop the? Yeah, we put 2 in there this morning, but it's gone. So it's a constant, and it's good that people are using it. It has some benefits, and it has. You would ask me about pH, if anything is tested or any. None of that's tested. It's just a product that once we make it, we put it back out for the residents. Depending on where you're putting it, watch out. I mean, it's not topsoil. People think that it's topsoil. It has a lot of seeds in it. I mean, you figure all the stuff that we're picking up out there, people are pulling out their plants and they're ending up in the leaf piles. But it's all breaking down. So when you put this in there,
I don't know that it has a lot of seeds in it. Like the idea is, if you're turning
take a bucket of that,
okay,
and water it, and just leave it in the corner of the yard. Hear me out. Okay. I took it home when I bought my first house, and I filled a planter up, and I went to the shore.
See, so much better now. Now that you're turning it all the time, you're keeping the temperature up. It's aerated, and there's water in it, and you're killing off those seeds, as we learned at our last meeting.
But I was away for 2 weeks, and I came home. What did I do? So it does have a lot of seeds in it, and but it has good uses also. For your gardens, anything acidic loves it. I mean, your rhododendrons, your azaleas. I mean, it's awesome. Going back to our yard waste collection program, we run that for 2 weeks out of the year, and we try to. The reason we pick the dates that we pick each year is because that's when the county site is open for us for a 2-week period. This year we picked up 21.3 tons over a 2-week period. And basically what we do is we run the trash runs, whatever your Monday trash run is. We try and get all the Monday runs covered on Monday. We try and get all the Tuesday runs covered on Tuesday. If we finish up Wednesday's kind of a catch-up day because you don't get the whole township done. Then Thursday, Friday, we go back out again, do the same thing. The following week, we try and get through. So we've been getting through the township about 4 times in that 2-week period. During the year, we have the open dates at Skunk Hollow. Anything, if you guys are doing a green website, anything you can do to promote people bringing their stuff to Skunk Hollow, it's a benefit to us. We load the trucks every 3rd Wednesday of the month. We can take them to the county. We only have 1 day a month that we can work with the county on that, just because of the volume that they deal with. So anything that you can do to help us out there would be great.
So let me just,
I'm sorry to.
Okay, I just had one question. This came up at our composting session last time, and about, what you take at Skunk Hollow. In my yard, the plant material, it's all weeds. It's just weeds, weeds, weeds. All that stuff is good for your mulch. I can just bring bags and bags of weeds, and that is the plant material that works for you.
If it'll break down, we take it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
all right.
Yeah.
Just didn't want to contaminate everything.
We can, like I said, we pick up so much stuff on the streets. You'd be surprised what you find in some of the leaf piles.
Yeah.
Weeds are just
Fence
plants that
posts.
spread well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Good. I'm sorry. I didn't
Yeah. No. I, as a heavy user of the compost, thank you. But I wanted to ask why the hours are somewhat restricted for dropping off. Is there,
Well,
it's sort of 8 to 3 on a.
I have to man the site, and the same people that are the same guy that's manning that site is also used on construction projects. He's my backhoe operator. He's my So there's times we have to make sure that we dedicate 1 day a month, and we hope to increase that soon. It just hasn't been for. I mean, with the amount of work that we have in each department, and the manpower is limited. If people really took a look back and saw everything that we do with the manpower that we have in-house, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Is your concern that it's a weekday?
Yeah, I guess exactly. I mean,
and
I'd love to.
It's a cost factor.
For Saturday or,
and that's paying somebody 8 hours overtime.
What if you did half the hours on a weekend?
If you pay the bill, I'll open it up every weekend.
Well, no, I
No, I'm
think.
saying instead,
Yeah.
I'm saying, is there a way to
Yeah,
even
I
out?
mean, maybe instead of, 7 hours
3
during a
hours.
weekday, if you had just 2 or 3 hours on a weekend, I just know from myself, that's when I'd have the time to go, rather than
And that's
during-
something that we would have to get board approval on.
And I'm going to be shot for saying this, but generally it's going to be husbands and men, for the most part, who are going to get the lovely job of taking stuff over to Skunk Hollow.
Do you think?
I do think so. I do think, even though I hauled many cubic tons of the mulch home, I am thinking, and that I'm going to get in trouble because it's very sexist and all, but realistically, I just think there's a certain weight involved, and I just think it just sounds like a weekend chore that, like, yay, take them to the game and then go to Skunk Hollow. They're going to.
And like I said, that would be great, but
Yeah.
it's.
Maybe just, we're just saying, put it in the hopper.
There was times years ago where they did open Skunk Hollow for a Saturday, and I was in the workforce back then. I would volunteer for overtime, and you would go over there. You spent a couple Saturdays with me out there. Nobody comes in.
And part of it might be we collect it,
Well,
if someone is going to pick
I
it up for you,
think-
why are you going to bring it over
I think
there?
everybody that's home on the weekend, if you're out in the yard, you have 2 bags at least, or a can full of things that can be composted.
Well, this is what I'm going to talk about, which is, I mean, ideally people would just compost at home, and then you can do that anytime you want.
And that's if you notice, some of our leaf totals have gone down over the years. And I think it's been through the educating and compost. You see more corner yards where there's a little fence in the corner of the yard, and people are putting their leaves in there, and you see them when they're cleaning the garden out. All that stuff is ending up in there. And that's great because it's a product that we don't have to handle again. And then they don't have to wait on us for their product. If they do it right, and they turn it, and they wet it, and they turn it, and they wet it, soon enough they have their own organic material to deal with. So if there's any questions that haven't been answered.
I would just like to say that, speaking for my neighbors and myself, that we really do appreciate the quality of the workers who come around and with the trash trucks and with the recycling trucks. On our street, the guys come right around the same time as the buses. So we're out there at the bus stop with all these little kids, and they're careful, they're efficient, they're friendly, they do a great job, and the neighbors really, they appreciate that, and they notice that that is a very high level of service that they're receiving.
And I will pass that on to the supervisors.
Thank you.
And I would second that. And if you're running out there as a mom in your slippers and your pajamas in the winter, you know, like pulling it all out, they're always very helpful, come to you, wait a second with the bus. I think they're great, and it does make, because they're in your life, and it's very nice. You know, I don't find it's ever a negative interaction, and they're almost cautious to tell you, you know, hey, you know, it weighs like 85 pounds.
Right.
You know, but they'll eventually, but they are so nice.
They will communicate with you.
So
I mean,
nice.
they're doing their job. I mean, if there's a can out there that's too heavy and they see you, you'll know the can's too heavy.
Yeah.
You know, hey, you need to break that down into 2 or 3 containers. We're not saying we're not going to take it, but you got to make it, you know, so that we can get it.
Yeah, so they're
I think the entire committee ought to express their thanks for the level and quality of service that the township employees give to the residents. I've seen it many times. They're a great group of people, and they're dedicated, and they get the job done efficiently. And
Absolutely.
I think everybody ought to.
A resolution?
Yes,
Dave?
that's a resolution.
I agree. And you never see dribs and drabs of trash that fell out, that are on your driveway, that fell out of your can. Like, it's very
Don't say never. Don't say
rarely.
Don't say
Minimal.
But we have other programs that we use the trash guys for. I don't know if any of you've seen them in your travels, but some of the heavier traveled state roads where there's a lot of trash that blows out of vehicles and stuff like that, we have what we call, I started it's called a curbside collection program, just to pick up trash. If we have a couple extra guys, if we're done cleaning the fleet, if all the trash trucks, I mean, especially coming into the warm months, we have to clean them every Wednesday, wash them down with disinfectant. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to come into the yard. So, but we have these programs where we go out and we clean the islands of the street. Well, you'll see guys out there with blowers blowing them off. Then my street sweeper will go by and clean up the debris. Take a look at some of the other islands and some other towns when you go by, and stop up the red lights and look down what's on the ground. Gum, cigarettes, and dirt. Look around here. Once we have had a chance to go out there, take a look at the islands. The tops are clean. And this is all the refuse personnel going out and doing that when they're done their other jobs. And also doing the curbside trash cleanup. Down by the Blue Route, it's a mess. People going on and off the Blue Route. Trash is all out of the trucks, out of containers. That we go down there at least once every 2 weeks and just hand pick the trash off just to make the sides of the road look better. So.
It's fabulous. And, I mean, in addition to the compliments that we're extending to your staff, I mean, both of you are doing such a fabulous job, Bill and Peggy, and it's really impressive. I mean, not just you know, the numbers that we're seeing here, but all of the thought and effort that you're putting into it, particularly now when it's such a difficult economy and trying to decide what to do. We really do appreciate all the work that you've been doing.
And we appreciate you having us out here because it's good for people to understand. People can sit back and think that, okay, they could do a better job. We're doing the best we can with what we got, but we're striving to do better, and we continue to do that. And with Peggy's help and with the guys, you know, everybody that we have working on the projects, we'll go there. I mean, it's a great place to work. It's a great place to live.
And that's part of the concern, that we'd lose the system, that you would contract out, and it just would become a different.
Whatever we do, we'll do it right.
I know.
Believe me.
I just have one little thing to mention is we're working on putting a green page on the Radnor website, and one of the pieces of paper I saw here was single stream, but it was the do's and don'ts. And I was thinking if you wanted to work together, or if we could have something like that that's very graphic so people can look and see the pizza box, that might be a fun thing to do together for the green page. Because people do wonder, egg cartons, flour bags. There's a great article in the Inquirer. You know, they walk through with a person from
TerraCycle?
No, they were like from Allied, I think, or BFI at the time, or whichever. And she walked through the Gennardi saying, oh, you can use a flour bag. You know, empty the flour out.
Right.
Like, so, but I think a nice graphic of that would make it easy.
Yeah.
Sure.
That would be great, because I
Any
think it's easier
information
to
and
look at that
education
way.
we can get out there is great.
Okay,
And
great.
we'd be willing to help.
And you
with
are
that.
just doing a great job. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
And thank you again, Amy.
No, you don't.
You're free.
You can catch it at home.
And now we're going to turn it over to Heather for her presentation on all the things that we can do to reduce the amount of waste that we generate at home.
I'm like one of those old people who doesn't. Can anyone give me any kind of?
Maybe if you try to minimize that with a little line at the top right-hand corner of the screen. Yeah, right, minimize it.
Remember,
Yeah.
I'm a Mac gal.
Right. Do you see something on it that's got your name on it or looks familiar?
Good.
Looks like there's 3 presentations right there in the middle of the screen.
Thank you. Oh,
You
yeah.
just click
This
on
is
yours.
great.
There
Okay.
you go.
All right. All right, reducing household waste. All right, so let me see if I can get to the last slide first. As you all know, if anyone's been to these meetings, this is kind of my passion here is reducing household waste, or just an interest in it. And if I'm going to go to the last slide, in January, I decided that our family, we good? Okay. Thank you. To save our garbage for 2 weeks. And I couldn't recommend this more strongly to everyone. It is so interesting. Like, you can have all these theories on what your garbage is, and we're good, we try not to use plastic bags, and you really get to see what it is. And it's not as gross as it sounds. I mean, you really decide, most dry things. Do you have an area where, garbage, and you realize that most of it goes in the category of either recycled glass, plastic, and bottles, or recycled paper. And then food compost, which we do, and which after showing you this, I hope everyone thinks maybe we're going to do this, because this was done during the time of year when we're not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. I think the numbers would be much higher in the summer. This is when, you're doling out every penny for every blueberry and raspberry, so you eat it all. And then, so trash is actually very small, and it just isn't as gross as it sounds. Like, there was 1 chicken container and 1 beef container, which, had to go away right away. But everything else is pretty sanitary and in a bag. And it was winter. I wouldn't do it in August, maybe, in the garage. But it was just a way to really, you see, and you just start thinking differently. Like, every time you open a product, you're like, oh my God, it's in a plastic bag. Like, and there's a plastic bag inside the plastic bag with the bread in it. So I would recommend it to do it with your kids, or to think about it, or just really note, because I think it just brings an awareness. And when you see the weights, you can't, and you save it there, you really see it. So what I did is, over a 2-week period, we had, the numbers aren't, I just did the percentages, but we came out with 82 pounds or 81 pounds of waste, of what went out of our house. And of that, only 8 pounds went in the garbage, which it was 27 pounds. The largest amount was the recycled plastic, glass, and cans. And then there was 25 pounds of recycled paper and cardboard. Food compost was 21 pounds, and then the trash was 8 pounds. And plastic bags, they didn't weigh in it a lot, but for someone who doesn't use, quote, doesn't use plastic bags, I use a lot of plastic bags. I mean, but I started to realize that I could save them and put them in with my bags to go back to the grocery store, whereas before I don't think I thought to save the English muffin bag or the plastic bag. But they're clean, they're clear, all of that. So let me go back to the beginning. So I do recommend, think about it, or, a day or two, or really look at it. And again, I think this summer you'd have a lot more food compost. And what's not in here is yard waste, because it was January and I was not working in the yard, but I think people have a lot of yard waste. And that's where the tonnage, when I saw 1.25 tons per household of garbage, I mean, that is a lot of garbage, and 50 pounds a week, like, that just, to me, that's just too high. But
I think what's really interesting about your chart is it really shows how much we are in control of what happens with our waste. I mean, I would not have guessed it was anywhere near that high in terms of the percentages that are either recyclable or compostable. So that's pretty
And I think you don't
dramatic.
realize it. Like, I have one friend, and she recycles. She's like, well, I don't do paper. I don't have much paper. I said, don't you get the newspaper? She goes, oh, no, I don't have much paper. I kept calling her all day. Like, do your kids eat cereal? Like, you know, every time I call, I'd be like, well, what, toothpaste doesn't come in boxes? Like, and so she has started, and she's like, wow. And sometimes, if you're just always flowing it out, and you know what? I would love to just throw everything in the garbage, you know, with food in it, and that would just be lovely. Just, you know, like you do when you're on vacation. I just throw things away on vacation. You know, I just join in with everybody else. But, you know, it just isn't how it is. There's just too much. There's not enough places for it to go. So how do I get back? Let me just, and hold it. Hit escape. Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, so let me try and go through quickly. So this is how to reduce your household waste. Got it up there? How you can help Radnor reduce its waste, because I really do think we all have to work towards this. It is money. It will be taxes. It will be garbage fees if we don't reduce our waste. Like, we're paying for it. We don't know we're paying for it, but we are.
Right, and the other point that Robin would make if she were here is that it also contributes to the greenhouse gases. We're working on this greenhouse gas emissions inventory, and they are calculating the emissions associated with the amount of garbage that we have. So.
Right, absolutely. So it costs us. All right, think before you shop. Always bring reusable shopping bags. It's great. This is really spreading. You get them everywhere. They're really cool looking. You can't go to TJ Maxx. You can't go anywhere. But it is an education process. Like, you have to remember to bring them. You know, we're always at the grocery store, and you're like, oh. Like, I realize I have to leave them in my husband's car so that when I tell him to go pick up milk on his way home from work, that he has them. And no one likes, I don't want it. And it makes it nice. And I will say that people at stores, they do like them. They're nice, they're clean, they're easy to use. There's nothing yucky. It's better than when you used to bring back your old plastic bags from another store and they didn't like them. They have small ones that come in purses, reusable bags. So I think it's just an education thing, but I do see people using them more and more, and they're just nicer. They're neater when you bring them home. They're neater in your car. They don't spill as much. They're sturdier. They don't break. All of those things. And as they said, you're not to put paper in your recyclables for the township. So, you know, the dogs is really the only great use I see for them at this point. So think before you shop, and then think before you buy. Are you sure you're going to use it? Only buy what you're going to use. Food waste. And on average, households waste 14% of their food purchases. 15% of that includes products still within their expiration date but never opened. And I've read a lot of different things. Household food waste alone adds up to $43 billion a year. People just buy more than they're going to eat. And we all do it. I mean, I know I have cilantro and parsley that are very yellow in my refrigerator. I have high hopes for great cooking that doesn't happen, and it's ugly. Or you go to Costco and it's there, and your kids get halfway through and they say, we don't like Oreos, or, you know, whatever. So just think about food waste is a huge one. So really just more. Europeans probably have a lot less. They probably shop day to day, and it's hard. But again, if you start looking at your garbage, you start understanding where you're overbuying. And I do have my kids bring home all of their food in their lunch boxes, you know, so you can see, not the open yogurt containers, but I do know a lot of kids go and bring in. If I knew my kid wasn't eating that, I just wouldn't pack it. All right, avoid excessive packaging. Buy local when you go to the farmer's market. This I didn't know. Buy frozen foods in bags, not boxes. It's a lot less waste and less expensive. The other thing about the reusable bags, I go to the farmer's market. I don't use the plastic bags even there. You know, now they're made out of plastic. You just put it all in. It's just as easy. You just don't need the small plastic bags or the large ones. And it kind of encourages them to either display it or wash it when you get home or whatever. Avoid things like pump toothpaste. Anything with a new little gizmo for getting it out uses a lot of plastic, and it says buy inexpensive biodegradable cleaners. Also, if you make things yourself at home or buy some basic things like vinegar and borax and things, then you don't have as many bottles of stuff. Next, and this has to do with what Peggy and Bill were talking about, buy products made from recycled materials. This is a key step in supporting recycled programs. They call this closing the loop, that really it's not just sorting your materials, but then you need to look to buy these things and create the market. And so even if the market's out because China's not sending us as much stuff, as people look more and more to buy recyclable goods, it will help the value of the recyclable goods. And fix it, don't throw it away. You know, I see so many times in garbage something's broken, and my poor husband, I'm always talking about him like this, but we had something that's not kind of working right. It's a power washer. It's a huge piece of stuff. He's like, I'll just get another one. And it's, like he just can't be bothered, and I understand it's a pain, but, there are a huge amount of, I more think of things not so much in cost, but as cost to the environment or just the physical size of it. So look at getting things fixed. And look in the yellow pages or think, can you reuse it? And it's another reason to think of quality. I mean, even with kids' toys, buy less, more quality, value them, and have less waste. And the other thing is some people think, oh, it's broken, who would want it? There are people out there who want this stuff. I mean, Craigslist, thrift shops, all of that, and I'll get into that later. So pass it on. One person's trash is another's treasure. Freecycle.com, local charities, there's Goodwill, there's St. Mary's Church, the Alley Door in town, Purple Heart. They're great. You can drop those 24 hours a day. It's great if you have kids' stuff and you need to get it out before they look at the bag again. It's there. And I did find out from St. Mary's, they will, and that's on the corner, it's right near Argus Printing, if anyone's wondering where that church is. They can take it 24/7. They'll take your stuff. They will take clothes of any condition. Like, don't worry, oh, it's got a stain, who would wear it? They recycle it. They use the money towards programs in Africa. So there are places that will take anything. Donate books to the library, magazines to nursing homes. Sterling Optical, right near the farmer's market. They'll take your glasses. They bring them to third world countries. They fit people who can't afford glasses. So these are all the things. Avoid buying disposables. I don't need to tell you not to buy bottled water. Buy products that are not designed to be quickly thrown away. For bottled water, figure out how to filter your water and use reusable bags, reusable bottles. Rags and cloth napkins. Again, my husband's lament is we're not allowed to have paper towels. It's one of the, he'll be filing for divorce based on that. But he is actually used to it, and you just, you throw them in the wash, and it's fine. But that makes a big difference because I do notice, and again, if you're saving garbage, save your paper towels. It's a huge amount, or at least know you can recycle your paper towels. So, buy in bulk. Obviously, don't buy individually wrapped items. Don't buy large quantities of small items packaged together. Like, buying in bulk doesn't mean go to Costco and get the razor blades in the big plastic pouch that you need the special scissors to open. It just means something with less packaging on it, like laundry detergents, refills. So recycle everything you can and develop a system for collecting recyclables. I think the key is to really be serious about where you have it, that it's easy, that everyone in your house knows how to use it. As an example, my husband one day said, figure out where to put your yoga mat when you come home. And I had never thought about it. And then once I realized I needed to get it to the laundry room. But until then, I just was always dropping it somewhere. So I think you need it very clear and easy for the paper, for the glass and bottles. I know when we designed our kitchen and I told them, well, I need the space for compost, for glass, for paper, they said, they're like, that's like 4 areas. I'm like, well, yeah, but what does everyone else do? So the more you get designated areas, and it's a great opportunity for kids that's their chores, the recyclables. So, and make sure they're big enough, because once they're jammed in, they're just a pain, and then you don't do it either. And you can recycle everything, like the little packages on a tea bag. Again, if you save your garbage and look at it, you just, you don't want to put anything in the garbage thing, so you end up putting it where it belongs, and you really notice how it adds up. And again, check packages to see if they can be recycled, and it's only 1 and 2. And don't forget to recycle plastic bags that you can't avoid. As I said, I think you just can't avoid them, and they're in everything, but you can bring them back to the grocery stores all that I've read has really said that that's really the only place where they can be recycled. Even if you went to single stream, they won't be doing plastic bags. And also, it says every year Americans throw away some $1 billion plastic bags after they've been used to transport a prescription home from the drugstore or quarter milk. It's the equivalent to dumping nearly 12 million barrels of oil. It's just a huge, like the plastic bags. I mean, I could get absolutely fanatical about this, but they're saying like half of biomass in the ocean is plastic. I mean, it's a detriment to sea animals. They said off of California, there's just tons, there are these swirls of debris, and it's plastic. And it does decompose, and animals think it's food, and they find dead animals, and they open their stomachs, and they're full of bottle caps and plastic bags, or they get caught around their necks. Because also plastic bags float away. They're aerodynamic, they get pulled away. I lived in Africa, you would see them, blowing in the wind. Although they were so valuable, someone would run after it and get it. But
did you see the article, I think, recently about the enormous floating island
yes.
in the ocean? I think it's in the Pacific.
It's
an enormous island of plastic.
Right,
bags.
and they're miles, and it's they find cows in India, and they're dying because there's food in a plastic bag, and they eat the plastic bag to get the food, and then they build up. But yeah, the amount in the oceans, I mean, that is, I don't think people realize how much there is. I was just in Costa Rica, and you can't believe the number of plastic caps. And they do say every plastic bag you use will be here for your entire life and beyond. Like, they don't go anywhere. Like, there's no throwing them away. There is no away. So plastic bags, they're too expensive to recycle. They're not recycled. They're cheaper. Like, we just, I'd love to make a push just to get rid of them in Radnor. So we'll get there someday.
Heather, do you know what happens to the plastic bags that we take back to the grocery store to recycle?
Well, supposedly they are recycling them, whether they're paying them and they're getting stockpiled there. But that is the only hope. I thought of going to talk to
They must
Gennardi's.
be able to recycle them on
They
some
would
level.
be the only, right. It's costly, but they are able. And that is part of the thing, is getting people who are giving you these things to take the responsibility that it's going to cost them to take them back. So that's why, I mean, I didn't check with anyone, but I put back those plastic bags from the bread or from, those other thin things. You don't put gross bags or really thick ones, but if it's a clear plastic bag or something like that.
The other source of plastic bags are newspapers that come in plastic
They can
bags.
certainly go back to the grocery store. But it is, and again, they're just a detriment to animals. They break down, and they're just a dangerous chemical. They're made from oil. You use oil to make plastic bags. I've read things about where you can fuel cars and all these things with what we put into plastic bags. So it is, again, back to the environment cost. Ireland charges like 23 cents a bag, and they reduced the use of plastic bags by 90%. Like, you charge people for a bag.
My mom's not very happy about that. Just to give you a feedback on it, my parents have turned into trash smugglers.
Well, yeah, I was going to say you could send them bags from here. A little Christmas present wouldn't cost you very much, but it's very effective. And even I can, from personal, 25 years ago in Italy, we had to pay like 5 cents a bag, and it does make you think. IKEA, you have to pay 50 cents or something, and it's just enough to stop instead of someone pushing it on you. Instead of the olden days when I used to say, "Oh, I don't need a bag," and they'd take it out and put it in the garbage. And I'd be like, "No, you don't understand. Like, it's not the bag I don't like. I'm just saying, it's bad for the environment." But so people are getting it more and more, and I do think those bags are more prolific. So just to use them. So again, this will be on the green page when we have it on there. But where can you recycle other stuff? On the web, we already have this Co-op America 21 things you didn't know you could recycle. The Pottstown Recycling Center is always interesting to go see and to talk with him. And makes you appreciate what Bill and Peggy do, because some things he sends, down to South Carolina. It costs him to do this. Schools have started doing things, as I've said, Wayne Elementary School. We announced we're going to take household batteries. Oh my God, they flooded in. Like, I went to pick them up. It took me like 10 trips to the car. Like, people get it. Like, they just want to bring those batteries somewhere. So IKEA, Home Depot, a lot of dry cleaners will take hangers back, plastic bags, and you go in there and say, oh, thank you. Like, they get it. It's a cost to them. Each of those hangers cost them something. Or take it back to the store where you bought it. You know, although that doesn't mean they're going to recycle it. But, all right, I'm getting good with this PowerPoint here. So compost, I can't say, I'm going to say one last time, you got to do it. And it's not like Bill said, it's not full of seeds, it's not that hard. You don't have to water it, you don't have to turn it. You can just let it sit there and ignore it, and then one day you're back there, and you're like, oh my God, this is compost. You know, you won't have to go through the whole mulch thing in the spring and spend hundreds of dollars to have them come bring mulch. You'll have this nice compost, which they found keeps down weeds better than anything else. And it's just going to keep a huge amount of garbage out of the incinerators, out of the township. It's going to save you on taxes. It's great for your yard, and it's just easier. Like, I'd rather just put it in the compost pile than bag it up and have it sit on the curb all weekend. Like, when I finally get the yard clean, it's just nice to get it in the pile. And it's just so you can be a great composter and really fast and turn it and do everything right and have it perfect. Or you can be, I'm not a very good composter. I do a lot of it, but it's just piles, and it eventually gets there. Leave grass clippings on the lawn. Don't bag them and put them in the garbage. They're great nitrogen. And that brings us back to this, which is that there's very little trash if you're conscientious about it, or try. But doing this, I did cancel my newspaper subscription. We now get the Sunday. Now we get the Sunday Times. You know, it's hard because you want to support certain things, but I feel like there should be an option to get the newspaper with no ads. You know, which isn't going to happen. But when you see how much paper it is, and there are organizations out there that you can, and all of this is on the web, is what I would say. Look on the web. You can, for $12.95, $15.95, you can hire a company to make sure you don't get any junk mail, to get rid of those catalogs. And I will say it really does bring down the amount of mail you get. I mean, you start noticing you don't get the supermarket.
Excuse me,
That's a
Heather?
really big one, the mail.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, there's actually, regarding the junk mail, there's a government website. I will give you the address and the phone number.
Okay.
If you call them up and register, I've done it, my wife has done it, it
Oh,
eliminates
please do.
90% of your, you don't have to pay anybody $15. It'll eliminate 90% of these insurance or credit card offers that come in the mail. So
Which is
I'll definitely
great.
pass it on to you guys.
And then you can go and you can decide, not like I don't get the supermarket ads anymore, but I can just go online, and I wasn't going to Superfresh because there's not one around here, you know. So you do see a big reduction. It took me a while to figure out that they weren't coming anymore, you know, or different things like that. But that would be great. And we are working towards this green webpage, which will make it easy for people to kind of access this or other information.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a pain. You know, I know it's easier to just, you know, throw it on the ground and walk away. But it's once you get into it, it's kind of just what you do.
This is a very good presentation, Heather. We do really appreciate you sharing all of your thoughts with us. You've pulled together a lot of great information.
Good, thank you. Did you have a question?
Yeah, my mic doesn't seem to be working. In composting food waste, what, if anything, have you observed with regard to its attraction to birds?
I have had, and one thing I didn't mention on here is that the Sierra Club has a great 5-minute video on their Green Home Guide section on composting. And basically, you do not put meat scraps in there. And I don't put meat scraps. I do put eggshells. I have no problems with it. I do. The only times I ever have a problem with vermin are when I take my garbage and leave it outside my door, meaning because it's cold that I'm going to take it to the garbage can and I don't, and the next morning, you know, a raccoon or something's gotten in it. But I've never, with the compost, had any kind of problem. And smell, I've never had any kind of problem. And I'd say in the house, I have one of those little flip cams underneath the sink, and the little plastic part comes out of it, and it's big, and it's easy. And even in the winter, I just, you know, I'll just leave it in bags kind of on the back patio let it freeze and then bring it over when I'm up for making the walk.
Rodents, however, will eat just about anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be leaves, they'll eat vegetables too.
Yeah. I mean, everything I've read, because the wet part, the green part in your compost is such a small portion with leaves and dry things that I think it balances out and makes it not very attractive. I just have not had an issue. I would say if you lived in a small area and had an issue, those black compost bins with the lids would keep any rodent out. And I do know the raccoons are very strong where I live. I have one of those very thick garbage cans, and there are teeth marks and claw marks on it from, a steak bone or chicken carcass or something in there. So, any other questions or? All right, thank you. Hope that was quick.
Thank you. That was great. Okay. It's getting late, but we can maybe just pop through the work group reports and close things out here. The first one on the stormwater program, I think I had mentioned in the last meeting that we had a meeting of the focus group to talk about stormwater program and talk about, what comments stakeholders had. And Brian, we had an original meeting in middle of March. Was there a second meeting held? I know one was talked about, but then I know I wasn't able to make it. No? Okay. All right. So I think another meeting will be coming up shortly to continue that discussion. On the climate protection, Robin and Josh are not here, but Josh did send me a report just saying that he's been working with Matt Bauman, cross-checking the lists that he's had of the township buildings in terms of identifying what ought to be in the greenhouse gas inventory and checking with some knowledgeable employees. He thinks that they're in pretty good shape, and he thinks that a final report should be ready by perhaps June timeframe. So we should be good to go there. Green building, we're continuing to monitor that. There's lots of developments going on with green building with federal and state programs now really targeting promotion of green building, but we'll save that for another night. It's getting late. Environmental ordinances.
We're having a working group meeting or discussion next week. Matt Bauman is contacting the American Planning Association to see what kind of model ordinances are out there. I did speak with Leo Burnaby from the school district, who was very generous with his time and gave a nice overview of his experience, positive experience with the geothermal systems at the school district. Noted that the area, the Piedmont area where we are, is actually a fair to good area for geothermal systems, which is encouraging. And also recommended that I reach out to Lorna Rosenberg at EPA, which I did. She was also very helpful and suggested in terms of ordinances that we might not want to get very specific with any ordinances for alternative energy, but we don't want to get into, exactly how big or small different systems could be. But generally make sure that our ordinances are not discouraging people from putting in systems. So we'll continue the discussion in the working group, but I think that is a good idea and sort of in line with what we've been seeing, which is that not many ordinances are very detailed in this area. And she had some other good suggestions. So.
Okay. Very
That's
good.
where we are.
Thank you. Heather, do you want to report on the community environmental education, the web page or schools? Or
I'll be real brief. You've heard enough from me. One, the green web page. For everyone on the committee, I'm going to be sending you what I think would be your area of expertise. And if you can comment on that, Melissa Kahn she's faster than we could ever be. So she said whatever she puts up is in real time. So we want to get some of that content in there in real. But she has done a small prototype and it looks great, and it would be an icon on that front page, and it'd be great to have, again, the recycling and different information. So just certain areas, stormwater, other things, obviously certain people will, and can feed into that on a regular basis. And as far as community education, I do think this hoedown on May 17th, the idea is to really educate people about sustainable agriculture, environmental education, other things going on in Radnor, and it's pretty exciting. And I must say, the Wayne Elementary School is having its Earth Day assembly tomorrow, and the kids who have been collecting bottle caps, and they've collected like 70,000 bottle caps. I've made medals made out of bottle caps, unsalvaged ribbon, but it is, as Bill had said, I think in the elementary schools, they really get very excited about it. And I was at a Girl Scout weekend, and it was a green weekend, and that's where they were talking about the plastic bags. And it kind of breaks your heart to see how much the kids care, about the environmental impact of something. So it makes you think it's got to change, but they just, heart and soul, they just really think that, garbage is bad and, protect the animals and all that. So it's very heartening. So that's it.
Okay, very good. And I think we've already covered sustainability series. So any old business?
No.
New business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.